Okay, hi, my name is Gracie Babineaux, and for this small group project, I was a part of group 2, and what we focused on, or our problem that we looked at, was how the media relayed information to the public during this COVID-19 pandemic, and all the ways that they went wrong. So the issue that I specifically focused on was whether or not we should or should not wear masks. Now, this was a question that arose pretty early during the pandemic. When people think of protecting themselves from infection, besides distancing yourself, which is the most effective way to prevent infection, the other thing is to cover your face, to cover your mouth and your nose, that way that you're not inhaling any sort of germs that would get you sick. Now, the media said we should, and then they said we shouldn't, and then they went back and forth, and it was really, really difficult to get concrete answers to whether or not you should wear a mask. And I thought a really good example of that was an article that I found that was published on Forbes magazine's website. Now, the article was originally published in February, right at the end of February, and it had a load of information, but recently it was edited because that information that they had initially was wrong. Now, recently the World Health Organization and the CDC put out official statements about wearing masks, that you should wear masks if you're in public, that it's the second best effective thing for preventing a virus besides social distancing, keeping your 6 feet away, but you should wear a mask, that it's beneficial to the population, and it's a really smart thing to do. But the initial article on Forbes magazine's website was all about how you should not wear masks. Now, like I said, they have recently edited it, and in the original article you can see all of the edits, and they also published a supplementary article that has all the correct information, but I want to really focus on the original article, and even without all of the edits and everything, how still confused you're left at the end after reading it. So the first thing that they talk about is that you should not wear masks. It says that if you have one at home, don't worry about getting it. If you don't have one, don't waste your money. And what they actually do is they advise specifically not to wear your mask. Now, they say, citing a few specialists, infectious disease doctors and things like that, they do cite them saying that wearing a mask can actually increase your risk of infection. So when people wear masks, they tend to touch their face a lot more. And when you're touching your face a lot and you're not washing your hands, it can lead to increased infection. At least that's what the article is saying. And it sounds reasonable. And so you're left reading at the end of that paragraph, or at the end of that section, that, they're right. Maybe I shouldn't wear a mask. Then the next section talks about the different types of masks. So what you're going to hear a lot about is surgical masks and respirator masks. With the respirator mask, you'll hear a lot about N95, which is a method of manufacturing, but that's the two main type of masks that you have. Now, the article does say that surgical masks do absolutely nothing. They're really just, don't get them. But it says that the only effective kind of mask that you could get is a respirator mask. Now, just before it said don't wear a mask because no masks are effective, but now it's telling you that if you need to get a mask or if you want to get a mask, get a respirator mask. But that's not where the confusion stops. So then it goes on to say that still don't buy a respirator mask. They require training, and they have a suction component that's really hard to work, and so in reality, you're even at a higher chance of getting infected. So with all of the edits, of course you have the correct information now, but even in the original article, it was super confusing to begin with, super confusing at the end, and it was a really good example of how when you're reading in a lot of media nowadays, there's really no good answers.